Inside NASCAR, a weekly 30-minute look into the world's most popular form of auto racing. Inside NASCAR takes you behind the scenes with up-to-the-minute feature stories and interviews. Now here's two-time Grand National Champion and Stock Car Hall of Famer, Ned Jarrett.
Welcome to Inside NASCAR. We go coast to coast, bringing you the stories that happens in stock car racing. We enjoyed bringing you the show from California so much last week, we decided to stay over. This is the famous Venice Beach on the Pacific Ocean. In a couple of weeks, we'll be on the Atlantic Ocean in Daytona to bring you highlights of the Pepsi Firecracker 400. Today, we have highlights of the Vanscoy Diamonds Mine 500 from Pocono, Pennsylvania. We'll go inside the Bell Helmet Factory to show you what goes into building the helmets that the drivers use. Steve Byrne interviews a lot of the folks here on the beach to see what racing is all about here in California. All of that and more coming up. Stay tuned. We're very fortunate in this business. We visited the pretty beaches of Southern California, then from there to the beautiful mountains of Pocono, Pennsylvania, where the Vanscoy Diamonds Mine 500 was held this past weekend. That's a unique racetrack, 2.5 miles in length, but it has some unique characteristics. They run awfully fast in some parts of the track and pretty slow in other parts of the track, so it requires a different strategy by the drivers and the teams in setting the cars up. There's always a lot of interesting racing there. Mark Allen reports on the Vanscoy Diamonds Mine 500.
It had only been 2 races since pole sitter Bill Elliott had tasted champagne in Victory Lane, but for most of the Vanscoy 500, it looked as though the superspeedway master might go another week without winning. Early on, number 5, Jeff Bodine, matched Elliott's muscle to take the lead and hold it most of the day. Elliott's day was nearly cut short at the halfway point when he skated a bit through turn 3, but gathered it back up. Moments later, more trouble for number 9. Elliott had a flat tire, but didn't know which one. So 4 tires were changed under green, and Bodine extended his lead to 9 seconds. Elliott couldn't reduce the margin, so if there were no cautions, Bodine was sure to win his first race of the year. But late in the event, caution did come out when Steve Gray's engine expired, allowing Elliott and 33 Harry Gant to get back in the hunt. After 2 more brief cautions, the final sprint was between Elliott and Gant. Bodine fell from the pace with tire trouble. When Elliott dove beneath Gant with 10 laps left, the lead was his for good. All Gant's crew could do was to watch helplessly as their driver vainly tried to avoid being bridesmaid Harry for the 4th straight Winston Cup event. Darrell Waltrip and Bodine were the only other drivers to finish on the lead lap. The Chorus Crew celebration was especially sweet, not only because the champagne flowed for the 6th time this season, but also because Elliott has roared in the driving championship standings.
We're just about at the midway point of the 1985 Winston Cup season, so let's look at the point standings. Bill Elliott, of course, on top, 1,946 points. He's followed by Terry Labonte, who's just 52 points behind him. Jeff Bodine is 3rd, Darrell Waltrip is 4th, and Ricky Rudd is 5th. 6th place is Harry Gant. He's followed by Bobby Allison, Neil Bonnet, Kyle Petty, and Lake Speed. 11 through 15 finds Tim Richmond, Bobby Hillen Jr., Rusty Wallace, Dale Earnhardt, and rookie Ken Schrader. The King, Richard Petty, is 16th. He's followed by Dave Marcus, Buddy Baker, Clark Dwyer, and Jimmy Means.
With the point standings up to date, it's time to dip into the NASCAR mailbox to see what questions you, the fans, want answered. Our first question this week comes from Angela Hagee of Lexington, North Carolina. It's a question for Harry Gant. What is it like to be called Bridesmaid Harry? Do you like working for Hal Needham and Burt Reynolds?
Well, Angela, being called Bridesmaid Harry, I think that's sort of wore off a little bit now. We've, we started winning some races, but we did run an awful lot of seconds, and being nicknamed that didn't really bother me at all because I think we're very fortunate that we could run something like 20-some second place since I've been running Grand National. And if you can't win at the time, it's best to be second. So we're real proud of the finishes that we had, and we need a bunch of second places the rest of this season would help us a lot. And working for Hal Needham and Burt Reynolds, you know, our car owners, it's probably one of the greatest things for any driver out here. I think a lot of drivers, I'm sure, would like to be in the position I'm in with the great people like Hal Needham, our car owner. He's one of the greatest men I've probably ever known. And I feel very fortunate to be able to work for him, and hope to be working for him a long time. And I'm sure a lot of other drivers would like to be in this position I'm in.
Well, second is a lot better than many of those other positions. Debbie Henson of Lugoff, South Carolina writes, "My daddy said that in 1957 through 59 on Thursday nights at the Columbia Speedway, an old black coupe with 238 on the doors used to outrun Bobby, Ralph, Al Farmer, Clyde Goff, Gray Fox, and others. Do you remember who the driver was? My daddy knows, but he won't tell me. He said to ask you." Well, Debbie, it was yours truly. We ran 238 on the side of that 1937 Ford Coupe, had a lot of fun in those races back in those days, and you might be interested to know that we could win as much as $150 if we won one of those races, and we're happy to say that we did win a few of them. Thank you for writing in. Everyone who writes in receives a free gift. If your question is used on the show, you receive a 1-year free subscription to Grand National Scene. Write to Inside NASCAR, Box 240-417, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28224. That's Box 240-417, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28224. Now let's catch up on the latest NASCAR news. Two-time NASCAR Busch Late Model Sportsman champion Sam Ard has made it official. He is retiring as a driver and will become team manager and crew chief for sportsman driver Charlie Luck of Richmond, Virginia. They signed a contract which runs through 1986. Their first race under the new arrangement will be at South Boston, Virginia on July 21st. Ard has not driven in the Busch Series since he was injured in a wreck at Rockingham, North Carolina last October. He did run in a late model stock race at his hometown of Asheboro, North Carolina a few weeks ago, and he won it. He says he is committed to run 2 other races at that track, the Caraway Speedway, this year. Then his driving career will end. He is 46 years old. The annual Richard Petty Fan Club Convention is scheduled for Saturday, June 21st. For the past 15 or so years, it has been held at Petty Enterprises, but this year it will be at Curb Racing in Kannapolis, North Carolina, where the STP Pontiacs are maintained. The governor of the state of New York has proclaimed July 6th as I Love New York Richard Petty Day. Petty will drive in a match race with modified King Richie Evans at the Shangri-La Speedway that night. The race at Michigan this weekend will mark the 500th career start for Dave Marcus. A special dinner was held Friday night to commemorate the occasion. Helmets might not make the news very often, but they're a very important part of the driver's gear on a race day. We went inside the Bell Helmet Factory to show you what goes into making those helmets. They've changed a lot over the years. That story coming up after this. Like many of the other safety features in racing, a lot of improvements have been made on the helmets that are used, and thank God for those improvements. Back when I was driving a race car, we wore thin helmets that were similar to the old football helmets that just barely came down over your ears. Well, they've changed over those years. Steve Burns visited in the factory of Bell Helmets to show you what goes on in making them better and safer.
Along with the high speeds and constant thrills, Grand National racing may appear dangerous and even violent at times. Well, that's because it is. But because of its dangerous nature, concern for driver safety will never take a back seat.
Basically what this is a magnesium head form. It's the average shape of the American head. Inside is an accelerometer that acts as the brain. With this orange cable, we can take the information from the head form, transmit it to this machinery over here. We'll be able to get G levels and the amount of energy that was transferred through the shell to the head form. We're trying to keep that energy at a minimum. What I'm going to do is the first drop to Snell consists of 11.5-foot drop, and all we do is let it free fall. Okay, the data from that last impact is stored in this memory scope, and we can get a graphic representation of that last impact on the computer.
Frank Homani is the test engineer for Bell Helmets here in Norwalk, California, where these helmets are also manufactured. Frank's job is to pull helmets at random from the production line and put them through rigid tests to assure maximum safety for the drivers that strap them on.
And basically, let's say we've held this for 2 minutes now. Okay, we're done with that portion of the test. We'll go on and we'll do what we do at Bell. We'll take this thing on up to its destruction point, or 1,000 pounds, whichever comes first.
The point at which it tears away from the helmet?
Yeah, we're looking to either pull the rivet through the shell, pull the shell apart, or pull the D-ring apart. Now, this is generally what will happen with our helmets. We've gone up to 1,000 pounds, and we'll stop right there. At about 1,100 pounds, we shear these bolts, so we don't want to... You can tell what kind of stress that shell is under by how it goes back to its original shape when you release the pressure.
Bell is the leading safety helmet manufacturer in the country and have been pioneers and innovators for over 30 years. The factory covers as much ground as 3 football fields and can produce as many as 3,000 helmets in a day, ranging from military helmets to any sport helmet imaginable.
This is our shell lamination department. This is where the outer fiberglass shell is manufactured totally by hand, and each shell is fabricated by a person. All right. For instance, we have these girls behind us, and each girl is laminating a shell. We might be laminating different models during the course of the day, because we do have somewhere in the area of 50 different models of helmets that we make. But each girl manufactures the shell from start to finish in a predetermined system of pieces of glass saturated with resin, and then she records her name, the date, and the number of the molds, for instance, would go on every shell.
Once a helmet has been laminated, primed, tested, and had that final coat of beauty, it's time for the real test.
What we're doing here is very, very controlled. We have everything so it's very repeatable. Out in the real world, there are no controls.
Well, it's comforting to know that there's that kind of research going on to help to keep the drivers safe. When we come back, we'll talk with some of the drivers about the new carburetor ruling that goes into effect with the Pepsi Firecracker 400 at Daytona. And Steve Burns is on an undercover assignment at the beach. Be with us. Here's a story that was a tough assignment. I couldn't do it, so Steve Burns and his Inside NASCAR crew volunteered because they knew somebody had to. We wanted to talk to some of the fans in Southern California about their views on stock car racing. Here's the story.
I know you're thinking, what does the beach have to do with racing? Well, what better place to find out what kind of exposure Grand National Racing has out west? Think about it a second. In the infield at Charlotte, 99% of the fans there love the sport. They know Clark Dwyer and Lenny Pond. They know the latest rule changes. But NASCAR just doesn't get the same amount of press out west. There are different priorities. Venice Beach is a good mixture of sociology and Mardi Gras. So what better place to examine the amount of interest in Grand National Racing? Sir, you look like a stock car racing fan, are you?
Yes, I am, sir.
You've got to be a big stock car racing fan, obviously.
No, I'm not.
Are you a race fan?
Not exactly. I never really thought about it. Being honest with you, I'm a wrestler.
When I see it on TV, I go, wow, look at those cars, you know. And when one blows up, it's, you know. Richard Petty, I think, is one of the finest. Cale Yarbrough is one of the, who won the race yesterday?
Terry Labonte.
I've never heard of him.
Okay, so out here on the coast, it's pretty much a neglected sport.
Yes. Yes. And that's too bad. They should really do something about that.
Oh, one day I'll be a race car driver. See, I'm adventurous. I like to try different things.
What I said is, congratulations, Mr. Terry Labonte. God bless you, and on the track too. But let me just finish it.
Okay, so Grand National Racing may not have all that high of a profile out here on the West Coast, but for that matter, what does? Well, that's not entirely true. We did catch up with one artful dodger in this town who knows and respects what the sport of stock car racing has to offer.
And let me tell you something, it's tough enough just driving on this freeway alone, let alone getting behind the wheel and doing like the Yarboroughs and the Pettys and the Mario Andrettis and all of the tremendous racers that have proven themselves winners over the years and competitors. And the competition is tough, and so many things can happen while you're in it. I'll guarantee you one thing, I'd rather hit off a Mario soda than drive those cars at 205 miles an hour, believe that.
And just when you are beginning to think that there weren't any race fans in L.A.
Right, I gotta go home and get some cookies and a glass of milk.
I tell you, Steve, you fellows are to be commended for going beyond the call of duty and working under such adverse circumstances. Now on a more serious note, in a couple of weeks, the new carburetor rule goes into effect on the NASCAR Winston Cup circuit. It's aimed at slowing the cars down. We talked to several drivers about how they feel about the new rule.
Well, it's a guess. Everybody's guessing. What it will do, it'll cost everybody a lot of money and it'll blow a lot of engines up, but it may slow the speeds down a little bit too.
It won't be a very insignificant change. It's not a big deal. It's about like raising 1.5 inch and lowering 1.5 inch. There was no effect, and this is going to have a very small effect on the performance of the cars. Might see a mile an hour or two at some racetracks, but short tracks and a lot of the speedways. You'll never know the difference.
I think we'll know more the 4th of July. You know, I feel like that why change things right now? And it keeps coming back to the same old thing. You know, first everybody wants to go fast, then they slow the cars down. And, you know, to me, I don't know what they want. You know, that's the whole thing about it. You know, and I don't know if it'll slow the Fords down more than it will the GM cars. I don't know if that's what it's aimed at or whatever. But I guess we'll know the 4th of July at Daytona.
I think it's aimed at the Fords, you know, probably an attempt to slow them down a little bit, but it's going to slow everybody down, and it should slow them down about the same.
Well, we've heard different rumors that some people has tested the smaller plate, Ford and Chevrolets both, that seem to be affecting them pretty close to the same about. I've heard from 60 to 40 horsepower. We haven't tried anything yet. I don't know how it's going to affect us, but I don't think it's going to change anything very much. I think it's going to affect everyone about the same when everybody gets everything worked out.
It'll be interesting to see how it does work out. Personally, I feel that it'll make for even better racing. We hate to leave you from this beautiful setting, but we got to move on. Next week, we'll come to you from the beautiful Irish Hills of Michigan, where we'll bring you highlights of the Miller 400, the latest NASCAR news, and more, right here on Inside NASCAR. Be sure to be with
us. The following companies have paid a promotional fee to Inside NASCAR.
Tough guy personified. Jack Lambert, how do you get a smooth shave that's not tough on your wallet?
Get personified.
Get Persona.
For a vacation in the Poconos in Pennsylvania, stay at the beautiful Pocono Gardens Lodge with a private swimming pool in your own suite, gourmet dining, all sports facilities, and extravagant nightlife. Pocono Gardens Lodge. Ground transportation for Inside NASCAR is provided by Choo Choo Custom Vans, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Specialized vans, pickups, Blazers, and Astros. The Performance Driving Academy at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We teach safe driving at super legal speeds. To be the best, train with the best. Performance Driving Academy at the Charlotte Motor Speedway.